Well, we're here in Uttoxeter at Redfern Cottage, which is the Museum of Uttoxeter Life. Yeah. And we're talking to Laura, who is the curator of the museum, and she's going to tell us all about it.
Wow, thank you very much. Yes, the role of curator is basically all about looking after the collection, which means the historical objects that have been collected over time and that are stored here and also displayed here. So most museums have about 75% of their collections stored away for hopefully when the day they come and be displayed, and about 25% is actually what you see. So that takes a lot of maintenance and care and documentation and sort of understanding the collection so that we can use it more fully. So in Redfern Cottage we have a collection which is very strong about the town of Uttoxeter, and we have a lot of archives, so photographs, paper, documents, records, and these are all in store waiting for anyone to come and research them and look at them if they need to. But also, as well as doing that and looking after the collection, I develop interpretation. So for the displays and for the room settings that you see, the period rooms, I sort of decide what goes out and why, and do the information about it as well. So I write interpretation and I do all the various things that people see when they come here, so hopefully try and make it an interesting experience.
I'm now talking to David Parks, who's the chairman of the trust. David, how did this whole thing come about?
Well, initially, the council were going to close the museum down. We believed it had some great potential as a wonderful building that dates from 1628. So it tells the history of Uttoxeter, this building, and we thought, as a community space, it needs to be here. So a few of us got together, talked about what we could do, talked to the council about how we might keep the place open, formed a trust, a charitable trust, and offered to run the museum at no cost to the council. We would pay a peppercorn rent a year for it, literally a peppercorn, and hand that to the council every year.
You mean a real peppercorn?
Yeah, absolutely. We could pay several thousand years of it, actually, if we wanted. But we talked to them about sort of running the museum as a community place, a hub, a place where people could come and volunteer, learn about the history of the town. Lots of new building going on around the town, so it's important that people could get a sense of history of the place and its ancient history that goes back, way to Celtic times. And so we tell the history of the town through that. Everyone's a volunteer here and works here, and we've got people from all over the place and all walks of life. And it's just a fantastic community space now that we can do things like this, community events like this, Christmas cracker night, but we also do Halloween events and sort of summertime events, school activities and everything. So it's become a real community hub.
Yes. So tonight then, David, what's the special event tonight?
Well, it's celebrating Christmas, obviously, but we're celebrating Christmas with a Victorian sort of feel tonight. So we've got Jacob Marley and Dickens' Ghost. We're telling the story. We're going to do roast chestnuts and just celebrating the sort of thing, preparing really for a big event on Saturday the 17th when we've got Lady Muck is visiting as well. So we're having a whole day then of lots of events, lots of people and activities coming around and people dressing up, and of course Father Christmas will be here as well.
And I suppose you also get parties from schools come round?
We do. We have a great relationship with the local schools and schools from further afield who come and spend the day here or a few hours here, learn how to make things in this 17th century kitchen or crafts, or sit there and sew and learn how people used to live. Look for the central heating and the taps, which don't exist inside. And
the toilets, no doubt.
The toilets, of course, yeah. But it's an incredible building. It's got such a rich history. It appears on one of the earliest maps in 1658. So it's one of the oldest buildings in the town as well. So.
And who lived here originally? Presumably Redfern.
Francis Redfern was a historian who lived here in the 19th century. He was a cooper by trade, so he made barrels here. But when he wasn't making barrels, he was writing the history of Uttoxeter. So he wrote the definitive history of the town. And a fantastic piece of work that took him years and years and years. And he lived in pretty much abject poverty. but wrote this fantastic book. He was also a painter and a poet, not a very good poet, but he was a sort of self-taught man, and incredibly bright, incredibly driven, and he wanted to tell the history of the town. Before that, it had never been written down. It only existed in records and deed polls and where financial records, sales and so on. He managed to get all of that information together and make sense of it. So subsequent historians and people like ourselves can now make sense of the town and understand how it looked back in the 19th century and further back as well, because he went back right to the 12th century and when Uttoxeter first got its market charter.
And you're carrying on that legacy now and telling everyone in the Uttoxeter area just how it was all those years ago.
Absolutely. That's our mission, really, is to celebrate the town as well and to be a community space for people.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me.